Hello everyone and welcome. In this lecture we'll look at a few questions on strings and lists. We'll write functions to answer each of the questions. And here are the questions. Let's start with the first one. So we have a list here containing these 4 elements. And the instruction says, write a function that will add all the elements in the list above. So we want to write a function which will add up all these numbers here. So it should give us 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6. That should be, let's say, sum 1 plus, then it should add up the numbers in this list, which we'll call, let's say, sum 2. The elements inside this list added together, that will be sum 3 plus, so the last sum 4. And finally, we'll add these 4 sums, and that will give us a sum total. So that's the function that we want. This is the final result that we want. So the function that we'll write will give us this sum total. Okay, take a moment and try the exercise. Great. Now that you have tried the exercise, let's look at my solution together. So we start with our def statement, def keyword, and then name for our function. Let's call it list sum, and then let's say it accepts one attribute, which is a list attribute, right? We'll just call it LST, or simply let's call it X to make it simple. Okay, we have our function, and what we'll do for this is I will create a variable, and then that will hold the sum, and initially I will set that variable to be equal to 0. So when we first start, the sum total will be 0, and then we'll use a for loop to go through our list object here, and then we'll calculate the sum of each of our elements, which is each of this list inside our list. So we'll add that to our total, to the sum total, which was initially 0. Okay, and we'll calculate the sum total of all the lists inside our list. So let's look at that together. So let's have a variable called sum total, and we'll set it to be 0 initially, and we can use a for loop. We can say for let's say elements in our list X, we can say sum total is equal to sum total plus the sum of all these list elements, right? So we can set it to be equal to plus or equal. We can say sum of our elements, right? So I'm saying some elements because our elements are lists, so it will calculate. So this method will calculate the sum of all elements in this list, in the second list, the third and the fourth list, and the sum total will be equal to, we started with 0 plus the sum of this plus the sum of this list, and so on. Okay, so this will be our function, and finally, once we calculate that, we'll return our sum total. Then finally return sum total. Okay, let's try it out. Let's call our function and try out a simpler example first. So let's pass a list containing the elements 1, 2, and let's say 3 and 4. So this should give us what? And then let's include a list here, right? It's a list containing these two lists. So the sum should be 2 plus 1 is 3, and this is 7. So that should give us 10. Run it, we get 10. Okay, now we know this function works. Now we'll pass this whole list. Okay, I'll copy this list. Let's copy that, Command C, paste it here and save it in a variable called, let's say, list1. Okay, now we can call our function list sum and then pass our list1 object, and it says the sum is 37. So if we add that, we should get 37. 6 plus 5 is 11, plus 4, 15. 15 plus 3 is 18. So 18 plus 4 plus 2 is 7, plus 3, 10, plus 4 plus 1 is 5, plus 2, 7. And finally we have 3. So 18 plus 10 is 28. 28 plus 7 is 35, plus 3, 38. Oh, this is 9, not 10. 4 plus 2, 6 plus 3 is 9. So that's 7 plus 3, 10. 10 plus 18, 28. 28 plus 9 is 37. So we know this is correct. Just to look at it one more time, we started with a sum total variable and we set it to be equal to 0, and we said for elements in our list X, sum total is equal to sum total plus sum of the elements, since all the elements are lists. If it was just numbers, we can just say sum total plus or equal to sum total, so it will keep adding to that list. Great. Next, let's look at the second question. Here is the instruction. It says write a function that will remove the first element from a given list and returns the new list and prints out the length of the new list. Can you do the same with string objects? Okay, take a moment and try the exercise. Great. Now let's look at the solution together. So we'll write a function that will remove the first element from a given list and return the new list. Okay, let's start out by our def keyword and then name for our function. Let's call it new list, and then it will take an attribute, or it will take a list as an attribute, let's say X. So we want to remove the first element from a given list, right? So we can simply do that by using the del keyword or del statement. So we can say del, so delete our list X at index 0, because we want to remove the first element, right? Okay, that should take care of it. And return the new list and print out the length of the list. So then we can say print the length of the new list is, then we can use the length function, right? The length of X. So at this time, at this moment, the first element is already removed. Okay, and finally we'll return X. return the new list. So that should return our new list. Okay, just to make sure, we can also add, before we can say print the length of the list, the length of the original list is, then we can add length of x. So before the first element is removed, it will give us some length, and the second print statement will give us the length after we remove the first element. So the length of, so this second length should be 1 less than the length of the first length here. And finally we'll return x. Okay, now let's call our function new list, and it accepts one attribute. Let's pass a list containing the elements, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Run it. So the length of the original list is 5, which is 5, right? And the length of the new list is 4, as we expected. And this is our new list. Return x, right? The first element is removed, and we have our new list containing the elements 2, 3, 4, and 5. Similarly, we could have passed, let's try it with one more example. Let's pass the elements b, a, c, and d, and run it. So the length of the original list is 4, the length of the new list is 3. Then we have our new list containing the elements a, c, and d. And the second part of the exercise says, can you do the same with string objects? The answer is no. Remember, strings are immutable. Once we create a string, we cannot remove the elements in our string, right? So if we try to, let's say new list, if we try to pass a string object and run it, you will get an error because string objects do not allow us item deletion. They don't allow item deletion. Okay, if we run this, we get an error where we have our deletion because string objects don't support item deletion. Great. We'll look at the remaining questions in the next lecture. Thank you, everyone.